Hi, everybody. So, Anya and
Hi.
I are here together. Hi, Anya.
Hi, it's so nice to be here. Happy New Year of the
Happy
Gregorian.
New Year. This may go out a couple days after.
Yes, it may, but we're
Yeah,
bringing
I
in
love the
the.
tree.
Yeah, well, I was struggling to find one that I liked, wasn't I? But this one is really matching the vibe, I think, of I struggle with the New Year and like Christmas, New Year timing human wise because I know that it's not matched up energetically. So I just try and honor the time of the energies and what we're feeling. And I always say that regardless of the fact that this is not actually the official Earth's New Year, it is a form of collective energy New Year because everyone is all at the same time sending intentions and frequencies out for newness, for new beginnings, for new intentions. And like anything, I think it can be used for good intention if you like harness the energy, regardless if that's Halloween, Christmas, Valentine's. Everything can have a positive intention if you claim it as one such. So I use this time of year to just reflect and stay in my little hibernation cocoon as nature intended, but also use this time to like set intentions and set frequencies for what's to come, you know?
And we're still in what I would call the year of the snake and what the Chinese call the year of the snake. And we're
Yeah.
still in the shed. So, the real new year can be debated many times, but I do believe it's in the spring.
I do.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And I like to go with the earth cycles. Now, these cycles may shift as well
Right. Right.
over time, but I kind of wanted to talk about the shed that's
Yeah.
still going on. And we have a lot of people that, people have been sad over, you were saying, over the Christmas holiday. People are being missed, and a lot of people have left the earth
Yeah.
plane. And then a lot of people have become more holographic in our lives, and they no longer are really present. Like they don't really have a consciousness present. It's only what we're expecting. And that is what I would call an NPC.
Interesting.
So at this point, I don't think that we will have them too much longer, the NPCs, and they will go out in various ways. And I think one of the things that humanity's been afraid of is change, but we're finally kind of sick of it. We're sick of the things that have been going on. Like we're bored with it, we're tired of it, and we're ready to shift more. And that shift will involve us just dealing with real beings instead of a reflection of ourselves all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You brought up some really, really interesting points there, and I think it's important to remember that because if we go by what we align with, which is that the seasons come back to life in spring, everything is in hibernation. All of nature, all of Mother Nature's animals and the kingdom, the plants, everything is in a form of hibernational phase until March, April time, usually around April the 1st, and that's when life starts to bloom, everything becomes alive again. And so, yeah, I'm totally aligned with that, that is the new year. And I think it's important to remember that we are still then in that shedding period of time because even me in my little humans, like, oh, yeah, well, we are shifting into the I think it's the charging flaming horse or whatever it is, like the activational of the fire of the
Fire
horse.
horse. Yeah.
I'm like, what's it called again? The charging flaming horse. That's how I see it, like running with flames. I
Mhm.
just say how I see it. But yeah, so like I keep kind of slipping myself and feel like, oh yeah, it's now. But actually, no, we have to anchor in the energy that maybe we are still going to be in this shedding period of energy for a couple more months, And it is right what you said that really it didn't start to speed up and start to amplify and shed until the springtime of this year just gone in 2025. Everything started to
Mhm.
amplify and speed up. So yeah, I'm in alignment with that. And I think, as you mentioned, with the sadness, it is also part of this time we're in. We're in this deep cocoon, this deep reflectional phase. We slow down a lot. So everything that we've been kind of fight or flight in, surviving through the whole year, we now have the time to process that. And for many of us, our nervous systems have lived in a state of survival through all seasons for many years. And now we're actually finally learning the tools and the techniques and the tips to be able to ground and regulate a lot more and be a lot more present in the body, which is also meaning, though, that now we're playing catch up. So we have all these years of this repent trauma and energy and stress stored within the body that's now finding its way out because the body is more calm and the body is more stable. There's more structure, there's more predictability, there's more routine. So everything feels like, oh, okay, now it is a good time to let this out because we're not just running in survival all the time. So if you feel like, wow, I've just got to a place of where I feel more grounded and now all this stuff's coming up, that's actually good because what it's meaning is you are allowed to release the backup stuff that you had stored there that you just didn't have capacity to access because you were running so many things at one time. And now, because of the work you've been doing, you're actually able to now start clearing through that, which is big, big work. And what I felt a lot in the collective, I've seen it, I've felt it, I've seen it online. There's a lot of sadness. And, I was watching some of the videos and I was crying. I was like, oh my God, this is so sad. And I'm such a big feeler. So I do feel things massive intensely and then I let it go and release it. But I was watching a few of the things and I'm lucky to have only lost grandparents who were elderly. So as much as it's absolutely sad, it's still a form of the life cycle feels a little bit more complete. I was seeing a lot of things about children and younger people and unexpected passings around like Christmas time and having to deal with that at Christmas time. And I guess it just pulled on my heart a little bit of the fragility of life sometimes and the fragility of this experience. Like, I am someone who knows deeply we have an everlasting soul. This is not the end of, in any way. This is just a small, minute, tiny part of our experience. But in the same respect, I guess as a human right now, there is such a finite amount of time in this body at this time on earth with these people in their bodies living these experiences and having these memories and doing these day-to-day things, and that is something that, as much as everything else is so eternal, you can't just recreate that again. You can't just go to a little experience and go to a new body and do what this is taking so much energy and work to align us all where we are at this time to be the version who we are and to kind of all share this experience. And I guess I just had a moment where I was like deeply grateful for who I am and where I am and the people that I have around me. And to have the opportunity to experience this at this time with them and all these versions of them, because when you know everything and you're connected on these deeper levels, like it is so beautiful. But I guess there's something so beautiful about being human and not knowing it all and not knowing when tomorrow is going to be and not knowing when the end is going to be and really cherishing it because of that and having such a deeper gratitude for the experience because it is a limited one. And I was really sat with that and I was really sat with the beautifulness of that, also the sadness of that. With the kids getting just, even if this is Phoenix's third Christmas and it feels like he was born yesterday, and so it's like the time just speeds up so fast around you and you just want to grab on at little key moments. And I really was honoring the space for anyone that is hurting this year and knowing that both can coexist. You can know all the things about the expansiveness of the human and the spirit souls and the all the multidimensional lifetimes and that we are so much more than this human. But you can also have sadness and grief and loss and little heart pain about things not being how you might have thought they would be, or having the loss, or just missing someone, and things not being in the way that you maybe would like them to be. Both feelings can coexist, and it took me a long time to kind of allow that to both exist at the same time. And so I just wanted to share that because, it might be a year that someone is experiencing a first without someone or missing someone extra a little bit this year. And yeah, I just wanted to anchor in that you can have both feelings going on. You don't have to choose a side. It's okay to feel the pain as well as the beautifulness of it all.
Yeah, and I think the human part of us is becoming more and more sovereign right now.
Mm.
So that means they're willing to release, because it's the human part of us that's shedding more
Yeah,
than the
100.
soul part of us, the big soul. It's the human consciousness and think about how long they've been stuck in this reality. Think how real it is for them. And, you have that human consciousness, which is kind of like a childlike consciousness within you. And they need to be honored and they need to be allowed to feel and kind of release all of that stuff. Like, there's just so much trauma that's gone on with the human perspective.
Yeah.
And people are triggered at the moment. Some of them are choosing to hang on to the trauma or create more.
Hmm.
And some of them are releasing it and not pushing it onto other people.
Yeah.
So that's a choice too. And that's kind of where we're at. That shows where the consciousness is and what your choices are really too right now. Because a lot of people are maybe going to choose not to be here to go through ascension completely, and some will.
Yeah.
And we're figuring that out. That's what 2026 is going to be about. And it will slough into, if we're still honoring this calendar, into 2027.
Yeah. Who knows
Which
by
makes
that
it
point?
confusing. I'm like, yeah, it's the window closes in
It's there.
2027.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. I really do love what you said there. There's a couple of things I was thinking of. It is such a multi-dimensional thing, and I always feel like I say this, I feel like I did it backwards, because I was quite young when I came into spirituality. I was about 16, 17, and it is quite young now. I'm 28. I think, yeah, actually it's quite a young age to explore these worlds, but it was my timing and it was my calling at that time. But I feel like I spent so much of my young adult years and my early 20s learning spirituality, and like I just went into the worlds, as you know, honey. I think we met when I was about 25, and I was deep deep into the realms of all the worlds spiritual and wonderful, and I don't regret any of that. That was exactly where I was meant to be. But I guess what I realized over the past few years, I didn't really know how to be human that well. Like, I feel like I did it completely backwards. I learned so much about the soul and about the spiritual existence and about like who we are as a soul and what we're here to do as soul beings and as purpose and as past lives and the multidimensionalness and the layers of everything, like anything in the quantum realms. I'm there, I've got it, I'm down, all good. But being human, oh no, there was not a good realm for me. Like, I just don't think I'd figured it out that well, because I'd kind of bypassed a lot of it. I spent years in the hospital, years on medication, years detoxing, just so many years figuring out this body. And it really simply is only the past few years of intensely working with the nervous system and learning how to be a human being. And I feel like that sounds so funny to say out loud, but I really did do it backwards. I did all the spiritual work and all the soul alignment, and then I kind of figured out how to be a human. I do apologize. Phoenix has found his way upstairs and he's shouting through the door. So if you can hear it, I do apologize. But yeah, the point is, I think now is the time to figure out how to embody it and how to integrate it into the human and how to put all that knowledge and all that integration into being a human being.
I think honestly, most people have done it that way. So we're at the point where the layers and the healing has begun over the last few years for the what I call the inner child, but what a lot of people would call the human consciousness. So it's been time for the human consciousness to finally heal and to finally spread out throughout the body instead of being curled up in a little ball and basically being on autopilot and the soul kind of guiding without thinking about the inner child as much. I mean, that's only come up in the last probably 3 years that the soul's been like, oh, I'm actually here for this little being here. I'm helping that little being ascend. I'm here to heal my own wounds, which I think that's what's been going on for a long time is healing the wounds of the big soul all those parallels, all of the polarity, and now we're concentrated on the human part of us.
Yeah.
So a lot of us, because we need to be in our body to create here,
Yeah.
to really change things. And that's going to be along with the human part of us because the human part of us will stay.
Hmm.
They will be a group that is human forever, and that will change over time, I'm sure, as a soul group, but they're not going to need to have an extra being here guiding them forever. So
Yeah.
they need to have that growth happen. And
Yeah.
that's what's beginning now, like really big
I
growth.
really, really, really resonate with that, honey, because I don't know who it was with, I can't remember, but I watched a video of yours the other day and you was talking about this concept. And I sat with it and I was like, oh, yeah, that makes so much sense because I felt like over the past couple of years that my spiritual work had got, I won't say quieter, it just got different. You know, the way I work, the way I interpret it, the way I then deliver that to others. You know, it went from intense all the time, every day, meditating, journaling, reading everybody every day, to then more sessions and group workshops and work and retreats. And like then for my own expansions, it was like once every couple of once a couple of days a month rather than every day of the week, you know, and like everything shifted. The massive importance of my crystals. Like I love my crystals, but I recently let those go when I moved house because I felt like they'd done their job for me and now they're meant to help other people. And it's so funny. I feel like my soul had got to a chapter recently and I questioned it. I was like, am I doing something wrong because I'm not as spiritual as I used to be? But then my soul kind of laughed at me and it was like, no, this is the point. Like you were meant to learn how to be human in a way that's higher than you were before. You were meant to learn how to live in this body with this knowledge and this integration without the assistance of that constant like need to ask that question and validation and meditation every day. Like that's almost like a religion, you know, it's having to seek for validation and reassurance and confirmation even from your own higher self. The point is we're meant to just know them things inside. And so instead of asking above and externally, I start asking within now, like I use the green light, red light, or the swaying or whatever's coming up at that time. But I've really noticed the integration of the human and the embodiment, and it looked like for a little bit less spiritual until I realized what actually is spiritual and what am I actually intending it to be. Like the point is, what that was before was a quest of learning and expansion, which obviously took fast-paced knowledge and a lot of information all at one time, which required a lot of focus and concentration on that. Whereas now I don't need to do that. It feels like now what's relevant is to be more present and be more in the body, processing, feeling, releasing, and just living. I've learned to learn the value of doing all the things, the good things of life, and also what people call the bad things of life. You know, like not bad, but living the full expansion of being a human. That's what we came here to do. We're not meant to abuse the body and live in a place of like, you know, self-harming patterns and programs, of course, but we're allowed to indulge in small little things that give us joy on small occasions that allow a release of energy because we're at a level where we can detoxify the things as long as it's in small amounts. And so, yeah, I've really learned to just find the balance of living in a human being and learning to enjoy that.
That's a big part of what's been going on with, like, what we call the oversoul
Yeah.
and all the little fractals that have experienced so many different lifetimes.
Hmm.
And we've absorbed many of them at this point. Everybody's got many lifetimes, many awarenesses, many gifts, and they've all come into this energetic field and they've merged together for this experience because it's such a big one.
Hmm.
Like we've never taken a body through the ascension process. And at the end of that ascension process, the body will still exist.
Yeah.
Like we've
Yeah.
never done that. So it's a
Exactly.
really big experience. And you've got so much within you at this point to answer those questions. And a lot of people have been afraid to go within. They've been afraid to take responsibility for themselves. They've wanted to always go outside. And if you really feel that you need to contact every single part of you, then totally do it.
Hmm.
But most of the time, it can come from within,
Yeah,
So we don't really need every single part of us to answer those questions anymore. Because a lot of us have 30, 40, 50, 100 fractals maybe
yeah,
within us. So we've really grown a lot.
complete expansion. And I loved what you said there. It's truly like, what a time to be alive. I have said this a few times before. We have such an honor of an experience to go through this and to be living this real time. Like, this genuinely will be a historical story at a point in life. Like, we lived through such an awakening period that humanity has never gone through before. The human race, these beings in a human body, the whole thing is a complete new blueprint, which is why, as much as we can tap into timelines and energy and information and intentions, no one knows the answers because no one's done this before. There is no precedent, there is no blueprint. We are the blueprint when we're just figuring it out as we're going, which means things can change, things can be unpredictable, things need to be adjusted last minute to suit the circumstances. And so, again, it's not giving your power. If you watch all these beautiful people, including myself, that's wonderful because you learn more, but it's about always tapping into, what do you get? What do you see? What do you feel? How do you see it going? Because just like me and Honey say, we use the word inner child for completely different things, when in the essence, what we are defining is the same thing, like the human consciousness or the inner child, but it's simply a word of translation that our human bodies resonate with a preferred frequency. So it's all about interpretation in the human body, and that can be different words, different frequency, different energy that suits anybody. So if some things you hear sometimes and you're like, I don't know if that's right for me, don't try force it. Try and question, okay, so what words, what terminology, like, what does this actually mean? Break it down and then see what that means to you in your kind of interpretation, because that's how we truly learn. Rather than just memorizing information, we want to embody it and integrate it as like a deep knowing rather than just something we've thought and remembered.
And after you go through something that's really like a deep release of things that you maybe didn't even know were there
Hmm.
because you haven't paid that much attention to what the inner child is feeling or the human part of you is feeling, and all of a sudden it comes up to the surface and you're releasing it, think about it after, once you're done, and try and see the big picture and try and see why you needed to release it, being
Yeah.
grateful, even though maybe somebody was really like intensely pressuring you
Hmm.
to get that release to happen,
Yeah, that can happen.
like, yeah. So maybe you were feeling really like bullied or whatever, and you finally were able to release something that maybe was buried for a long time. Just being grateful for the experience. It doesn't mean you go and continue the experience. It just means that you look at yourself and you say, okay, well, what did I get out of that? I got
Yeah,
to let go of some really tough things, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm going to modify my experience from now on.
yeah,
And I realize why that happened because
hmm,
truly we are in a game.
yeah.
And I
No,
think
we
we
are.
forget about that a lot. Like, this is a matrix, and we're getting rid of the distorted matrix so that we can be in the organic matrix. And the organic matrix is something that we can move with.
Yeah.
So we're going to realize who we actually are and
Mm,
take care of ourselves in a more proper way, I would say, like a way that's really good for us versus like all those weird patterns that
mm,
have been overlaid on
yeah.
everybody.
And they just kind of felt involuntary a lot of the time. It didn't
Hmm.
feel like there was choice until afterwards in reflection. I can speak from myself there mainly. Like I'd noticed something after the fact, after an emotional reaction, after a trigger or after a reaction, and I'm like, why did that happen? Oh, I can see that now it's happened. And it would be really frustrating that it would always take the example, take the trigger, take them incidents to happen for me to gain the reflection. And I can't lie, sometimes it happened more than one time for me to gain the reflection. It wasn't like, oh, I've just learnt this one time and I've integrated it instantly. Like it's taken me a while. And some things took me a long time to work through, you know. And specifically now, as you just mentioned, there's this kind of divide. Now, I know we've had multiple timelines running for a long time, don't get me wrong, but I feel this is different. I feel this is like our deep awareness of these timelines living in real time at the same time. So we have the distorted matrix as you used. I like that. I would say the old timeline, but yeah, I like that. The distorted
Hmm.
matrix running on there. And then you have the new codes, the new access to that frequency. Now we all have this, we felt it recently, like that, oh, this feels really joyful, this feels really exciting, this feels really beautiful and calm, and I met these people and it feels really connected. Like even if it's in tiny little small bursts, we have recently been exposed to it and shown the potential of what we could be living. Okay. And then we're having these straight back down to reality moments where we're crashing down into this old distorted matrix and like, oh, we knew it were too good to be true, and then we're reinforcing it, right? Because we're like, oh, it was too good to be true, we could never stay there, because the nervous system is constantly looking for moments of non-safety. So when it feels something unfamiliar, this new niceness, this new experience, this new timeline, the nervous system is freaking out, thinking, where can I look for things that I need to protect myself against? So it's kind of waiting for this reality to fall, to slip, for you to choose to go back to the old matrix, no? And so in that one moment when you slip, you might get triggered, something might happen, you might feel attacked and you get defensive. Then you're allowing the access to them old timelines, to the old codes, to the old distorted matrix, which then brings everything down to that lower timeline. Now, it would usually take quite a while to then consciously move back up to that timeline. Whereas now it's like they're like trains and we're kind of hopping between one and the other and the other. And it's like we're jumping between, and it's very quick. So you can instantly drop to the lower one, but then within one conversation or one acknowledgement, one release, anything can switch straight back into the higher timeline now. And now I've noticed that that's different for me. Usually it would take a few hours, a day, a couple of days for it to return back up to that higher space again. And I've noticed it way more quicker lately. So I think
Yeah.
the overall point is we have the choice. Like we're kind of still a little bit blindsided and we're kind of still a little bit hoping for the best. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't feel like a clear cut, right, here's your choice, now make it. But it feels like in the moments we like, are we reacting out of a trigger? Is this really necessary? We're kind of having them moments of reflection whilst we're feeling it, which is new for me and for those I'm talking to about. So I guess in them moments it's the pausing and they're going, okay, which timeline do I want to go on right now? And that's not honoring your feelings. It's just honoring them in a way that maybe feels more vulnerable, more communicating, more kind of a bit more exposed. But that's going to feel more rewarding when you're getting the reciprocation from the right people of the right energy rather than continuing in the same defensive or attacking patterns that you've had to kind of live in that fight or flight survival mode in. So yeah, I guess the two train thing is running in my mind a lot, that we are kind of in the in between right now, and in there's a lot of the time where we are spending a bit more of the time in the higher timelines, which I think is a bit of a first now, because we were kind of flipping in between and kind of, seeing it and then going back, but now we're staying here a little bit longer. And so I guess it's just recognizing all the stuff that brings us down to stay there more permanently, you know.
Yeah, and even if you go through something that's extraordinarily hard,
Hmm.
to bounce back up
Yeah.
and not take so long
Right.
to bounce. Because those lower timelines are, I mean, this is the year. And yes, I do believe that, 2026 will go into the spring of 2027, but this is the year where we let go of the old matrix completely. So, will there be little residues here and there? Sure.
Mm,
But we're not here to deal with that forever. We're here to start building the new.
right.
And we need to be on the higher timeline in order to build it because it doesn't want to be built in the lower timeline.
Well, it can't, like you say,
No.
it's like trying to grow a warm plant in the cold soil. Like it's just not going to grow. You need the right temperature, you need the right energy, the right soil, the right moisture, and it's just not going to grow because you can't nourish that timeline of deep love for self, for others, and kindness. And I always used to think when people say it years ago, like, what will it actually look like? Will it all be like everyone sing "Kumbaya"? And I don't believe that either because I believe being human is to be authentic. And I am, my saying has always been a little bit of love and light and a bit of go F yourself because we need the whole sprinkle of human. I love the experience of fire, water, earth, and all of it. It's the whole part of being human. It's the being. But what it's going to be is not intentional harm, not intentional maliciousness, not intentional, because when you are so connected to everything, to yourself, to that being over there. Why would you want to intentionally create harm to something that in turn is going to ricochet and vibrate back to you? And once you have that in understanding and knowledge, those that were on that timeline of wanting to intentionally create harm out of their own pain will have either shifted through that or chose a different timeline. And so that's what I think when we look at the energy, the emotional balance of the new earth, when people say, well, how's it going to work if we don't have governing forces like the police and like the government? Because people will not want to choose to do them level of things once they have the knowledge and the frequency of that. And those people that are still on that experience will not be in the same dimensional timeline. And so that's how it's going to exist. It's going to be the shifting in humans' behavior because of their knowledge of the expansiveness of self and also the forgiveness of self, the forgiveness of others. It's going to take them out of the hatred. And I think a lot of us that are watching this have already got there. And so it allows a much easier route. But I guess for a while I struggled on how do we build the new earth. I was thinking too literally. And then I realized the point is just keep doing what you're doing. Keep all of us keep bringing the light, whether that's just smiling at someone or running the retreats like we do, or the online videos like you've been doing for all these years, honey, and us lot. It's all part of connecting with each other, creating a new frequency and one that can be more consistent. And if we can continue to do that, then we can continue to build a world that's built on a better frequency, which then in turn is a new earth, is it not? The whole earth is shedding and the whole of humanity is shedding, which is always going to create new. Mm.
And this next year will be about being yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to do it. I mean, everybody feels energy. So when
Oh,
somebody is vindictive towards you, you feel it. If you're being vindictive towards another person, you feel it in your body.
yeah.
And one of the things that we've bypassed for eons is that we're actually all the same being.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, we are the same being. So when you're negative towards someone else, you're actually negative towards yourself.
Yeah.
And just understanding that we can say that that doesn't work for me, I can't really do that. That's totally okay. That's not being negative towards someone.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
just speaking how it works for you.
mhm.
And you're allowed to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, what you just said. You're allowed to do that. I've been really giving myself permission. So I've been, whether it's to myself or to someone else, like, I am allowed to feel this way, even if you do not feel it's justified, or whether that's to myself or someone else. Like, even if there's a reason why you think it's not allowed for me to feel this way, I have been giving myself permission to feel this emotion and communicate that emotion from a raw emotional place. And I feel my inner child kind of silently like, woo, it feels like an acknowledgement that, yeah, I've done a lot of work with the inner child, but maybe them simple words, I am allowed to feel this way without explaining why and without listing off a whole list of why this emotion is valid to everybody else. Them simple words of acknowledging that that is just in itself is allowed. was
Yeah.
really powerful for me. And I think that's really important, like you say, honey. And I guess for a while, the concept that everyone and everything, including all the dark, nasty, demonic things in the earth, were a reflection of my frequency. I didn't like that for a long time, and I'm not gonna lie, I still don't like it. There's still a part of me that's like, really, is everything a part of our frequency? And I think maybe that'll always just be a part of defense of the human because it you don't want to think that your energy can be capable of the same reflection of that. But in turn, that's not necessarily how I break it down. I break it down as we are all frequency of source energy, creator energy, source
Well,
frequency,
yeah.
whatever word you want to use. And so everything, the light and the dark, literally the light of the earth and the darkness in earth, the sun and the moon, all of the frequencies come from source energy. So anything can be used with intention. So it's not about the frequency itself, it's about the intention of the people that are using it or the beings that are using it. And that not, is not necessarily your reflection of yourself, because that's someone's own choice and their own actions of their own intentions and their own energy that they're putting on that energy. But that energy is part of what all energy we come from. And so we can't say that the reflection of everything is not a reflection of us because we all come from the same origin source of frequency. It's just intention that changes what that frequency emits and how it emits and how it vibrates on the earth. And so that for me helped me digest that concept a lot better because it's not saying that we are all the dark things in earth. It's saying that the dark things in earth also come from the same place that we do and it isn't all the same thing in itself, and that helped me sit with the concept a little bit better. So I don't know if that little translation might help. Me and Z spoke about that in a video a couple of weeks ago. If anyone's interested, we broke that down a little bit on my YouTube channel. But yeah, and I think the whole everything is changing, and I must admit, honey, I struggle with change. For someone that has the knowledge that I do in the spiritual realms. I struggle with change and I struggle with death. I will openly own that. I'm not afraid to own that. It's a huge part of my programs I'm working on releasing. Probably because of my own childhood experiences, we had huge family grief, unexpected grief when I was 4, and it kind of stuck with me a lot throughout my life. My granddad died when he was 56, just went to work and didn't come home, and it completely affected my whole family. Like they're still grieving now, 25 years later, and so I guess death is a funny concept for me. I do struggle with it. I do. I think that's the reason why I went into this journey so much because I understand it so much more than I ever could have thought I would as a child. And I have so many answers that I didn't think I'd get as a child, which I'm very grateful for. And I have a great relationship with my granddad, which is hilarious. He's my biggest spirit guide and like my best friend in spirit realm. So again, shows you that there's not this concept we have, and we really do need to break down this concept of death being this awful, terrible, sad thing, including me. I guess I'm dancing the dance between the coexistence of the spiritual knowings, but the human feeling such sadness towards the situation because of what I've experienced and what I see around me every day. And like you say, the humans thinking that that's the end, I think that's what creates the deep sadness. And when you've been exposed to that a lot as a child, I guess it kind of engraved into my nervous system that death means deep sadness and loss and like never ending sadness. And so my body's learning how to deprogram that and release that. But it's a huge thing. So if anyone else has also kind of experienced that, I'm right there with you. And this is the point, none of us are healed and perfect. Like we're all still navigating how that looks in a human being. And yeah, I think what you said earlier about humans struggling with change and humans struggling with death and the NPC change is going to be a big thing. And I think we have to kind of be prepared for things getting a bit odd and things getting a bit weird and people maybe not dealing with things great and then figuring things out and just kind of all processing things in his own way, I think is going to be important.
Mhm.
Mm,
Yeah, and when you think of source, think of the human body and all the different processes that go on inside of it, all the different kinds of cells, the
mm,
different organs, the different, like blue eyes, brown eyes, hazel eye, I like all the differences. And you could be considered to be one kind of cell
mm,
in that body, and another person could be considered the virus in that body. Like we are all in the body
It's
of
still the part of the
source.
body. Yeah, it still
Yeah.
makes up the body, no? Yeah, exactly.
So it doesn't, and a lot of the beings that were really focused here on really creating havoc and not willing to heal because they were toying with humanity
Hmm.
and toying with this space that we've been on Earth, because not the whole Earth has been consistently, you know, dealing with this. It's just a portion.
Yeah,
And it really is, they had to go back and become dissolved into that body
yeah.
of source. So that personality doesn't exist anymore.
That frequency code. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah.
So those are gone.
I feel
And
that though.
yeah. And now we're dealing mostly with our own stuff, or maybe we had a catalyst
Yep.
that we've always like bumped up against in our lifetimes. And we're like, oh, which part are you going to play, the bad guy or the good guy this time? Right. And because we've been in a polarized universe, we're still letting go of some of that, but the shedding will continue into, I guess, February is when the fire horse comes in.
Mhm.
So it may go a little beyond that, you
Yeah,
know?
March, April time. Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
around March, April. Yeah, I get that too, honey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just being willing to allow changes to move through and not thinking, oh, this is the end, or
Hmm.
oh, this is, trying to let your body not be as dramatic,
Mm. And not
you
feeling like
know?
you've gone backwards, because that was a big thing for me. I felt like I was going backwards, and really, I just needed to realize this was the deeper layers that needed to come out.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
That was really
And,
important.
and the deep layers are hard, you know?
Yeah.
You might be up all night. You might be like feeling bummed out for a couple of days. You might have like a purge, whatever, but
Yeah.
it's okay.
It
All
is.
of it's
Mine was
okay.
like returning of a lot of sadness. Like I said, I've been working through a lot of sadness, a lot of depression, anxiety, feelings that I'd really worked with years ago and didn't know why they were back. And I was like, okay, then why are you here? I had to sit with them a little while. But yeah, I realized it was just deeper layers to the things that I had worked through, and I had worked through them. But there was deeper remnant layers. And for me, the nervous system was hugely important, and learning to just listen, I think, was huge. Like there was so much going on in my body that just even listening to specifically the nervous system was really hard to decipher what that was. Which voice, which noise, which need, which communicational thing. So I've really been sitting with that. And yeah, I guess finally just before we shift it off was the whole concept of how can we be embodying our truest self, and how can we be owning that through all the change, and like you said, not being as dramatic, not panicking, and really surrendering was really important to me.
Mhm.
Who knows what it's actually going to look like with the NPCs, with the physical earth, with the timelines, with the government, with the money. Who knows? I don't know for a fact. I kind of have ideas that I've seen, and I have things and feelings that I'm tapping into, but who actually knows the fact,
We're
None of
creating
us
it.
do. Yeah, none of we're just getting little
We're creating
pieces
it.
of the
Yeah.
puzzle, and we're just seeing it,
Yeah.
and then like when he says we're creating it from what we're being shown and what we're seeing from its higher self. And so trust in that, and trust that you that are watching this are also a part of creating that. And so start acting upon these little feelings you get inside, whether that's just talking to someone out on the street, or whether that's planting a garden for nice energy for people to walk past. It can be absolutely anything. But all of these little small things that we're doing just help bring a sense of balance and love to a place where there is a lot of shadows being purged out right now in this year of the snake, and this will continue on for the next couple of months, like Honey says. So we just kind of got to hold in there and take the rest where we can get it, because there's going to be a lot of action. There's going to be a lot of charging and a lot of changing. And to do that, we need to feel aligned and rested and more healed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So take the time to heal the things that you need to heal. realize your own potential. Another thing is it's been hard to like really embody that we create our own reality.
Mm,
And we did an exercise the other day, Lisa and I, and it's a really good exercise and it's easy. But if you're not in total belief that we create our own reality, then it's hard.
yeah.
And it has to do with bending a spoon. Like it's
Mm,
really not hard because you're changing the makeup of the spoon before you bend it. And we don't really think about that we're an energetic being. There was a beautiful person in that spoon bending that actually showed us a certain kind of picture,
wow.
and you could see through her body in that picture.
Wow.
And that is because we are made of light. And every single thing that we look at is made of light in a different frequency.
Yeah,
And I think
totally.
as we start to work with that, we're going to change everything.
Mm. This is really interesting, honey. I think that's such a great concept is breaking it down, simply zooming it out. Sometimes the density of living in the human being with the concept of the work and the money and the jobs and the day-to-day life and the calendars and the responsibilities, the concept of bending a spoon because you know what the energy is made out of and you can transmute that and change it. For some people is truly mind-blowing and is a trick and it is a it's a lie and that's their version of the truth and that's okay. That's not wrong. That's their version. That's okay, but it's not the reality of the in essence the true frequency. And I guess what an interesting concept to play with there is that's how we are living life because we think that life is the spoon and it can't be bended and we don't create every little tiny detail and we're not in charge of it and some greater bigger higher external force is punishing us at some greater will. We don't take the power to change and to use the choice to bend it in a different direction, and that's what's the beauty of what you've just said is once we realize that everything is light, and that even changes it from when we all say everything is energy. Of course, it's the same thing, but if you actually look at it as light, like when you look in a room and there's shadows in there, and all of a sudden you can see all the dust and the rainbows of color in the room because the sun's shining through, you can actually see the matter in that room then because the light is shining in a different frequency. That is the exact same concept. We are all creating based upon frequency, based upon energy, based upon light. And if we learn how to communicate with that and understand that and work with that, then of course we can change the environment around us so deeply. But like you said, knowing and that deep belief system that that is simply that as fact as who we are, as fact as this body is real, that we know that that's what it takes. And it's shedding away the programs as a child that we were told that your imagination's not real, that magic's not real, and that all these things that we were told as a child is not real, when in essence that is the truest form. So it's just that work that we need to do right now in creating the openness in our crown chakras, I think, for the collective.
Mhm.
We'll get there.
Yeah. So just being willing to be your true being,
Hmm.
that's the biggest thing. And the distortion has been that our creativity, our ability to create has been used against us
Hmm. Hmm.
for
Truly.
thousands of years. Well, guess what? We're going to use it for us now. So I think just think about it that way. Think about how can I do that and start learning, you know, how amazing you actually are.
Yeah, truly, truly. How beautiful. Thank you so much for this wonderful, expansive chat, honey. I always love going into the worlds with you. It makes me just feel everything in such a deeper way in the body, and I love our chats. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. This was beautiful.
It
And I
was.
hope you guys have a beautiful day. And I want to say, I'm going to put all of Anya's links below. And if you go subscribe to my website, I am on a health journey that I am basically giving away for free the
Awesome.
information on what I'm doing there. So if you're wanting to feel better, definitely go grab that. So, yeah.
Thank you, honey.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.